Let's talk some sports, baby.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, we'll keep it in the NBA here for the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks. The Jazz win their 11th straight game last night, 120-101, led by big performance from Bojan Bogdanovic. He scored 32 points, hit 7 threes. The Mavericks on the other side, they get 25 from Luka Doncic, but not much from anyone else. The next highest score was Jalen Brunson at 13 points. Two teams headed in opposite directions. Drink. Who's to blame for the Mavericks, and who's leading the charge over there for the Jazz, and what do you think of them?
All right, so let me go ahead and give the Jazz the shine they deserve off the bat. First of all, I want to say Quinn Snyder. We know that he's in his 7th year there. It seems like finally his product is starting to take form what he wanted to do. And I also think, here's what I do like about most NBA teams is they learn how to stick with their coaches long enough to let their vision, blossom. Instead of like the NFL and college football, we always talk about how, you get about 3 years and you're out of here. Like you don't really get a chance to watch your idea blossom into something that's good. And that's what we're seeing with Utah. We got to remember, last night, their best player didn't even play last night. And for anyone that sees that team and say, oh, well, is Donovan Mitchell their best player? Yes, he is. Does it really matter he didn't play? Yeah, it matters. Do you not see the Lakers, how they look if Anthony Davis, and he's the first or second player, however you want to, it's your opinion. But do we not see how the Lakers play when they don't have Anthony Davis? Do we not see how the Clippers play when they don't have Paul George or Kawhi Leonard? My point is, you usually need your stars. Now, when you see a game like Utah versus Dallas, you would think, okay, they need all hands on deck to take care of Dallas. We seen what Dallas can do. We seen what Luka do for Porzingis. Last night wasn't that, folks. This ain't that. This ain't that at all. Last night, Utah came out here with the smoke check. The smoke check. And like I said, without Donovan Mitchell, without their best player. You had Bogdanovic going out, dropping that hot 30. You said in the lead in. But this is, how can I put this? This is the best Utah team I've seen probably since the Stockton and Malone days. These boys, they looking legitimate. Last night, what I seen out this team, there definitely should be a Western Conference final team. I'm not gonna, hoopra, hooray, and say they're gonna be in the NBA finals by no stretch, because they still got some pretty good teams out there. Probably the two teams in LA, but that's neither here nor there. But they looked real good. They looked like a clear third team. We was just talking about that before we got on the air. Listen, they looked phenomenal. Hats off to Dan Quinn. Hats off to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert for being able to keep, because we remember before the season, we talked about will that dynamic be able to stay together after the whole coronavirus fiasco, and it was a rift there. Utah paid both guys. Now both guys seem to be, they put the differences behind them, and they playing some good ball. Needless to say, they playing some good ball. I like what I seen out of Joe Ingles. Oh, and then Jordan Clarkson. I got to say something. Because when this cat was at Cleveland, where was this? Clarkson, you could have had a ring if you would have brought some of this to Cleveland. I'm just going to put that out there. You could have had a ring, buddy. Now you're still chasing one because now you want to play some ball. But nonetheless, Jordan Clarkson, he's showing up. That bench is showing up. And, what can you say? Utah, they got to be a top 5 team defensively because they don't allow just a ton of points night in and night out. I can't get this team enough kudos. I like what I seen out of them last night. Now let's get to the main event. Let's get to this Dallas Mavericks team. This is a team. What was they like, the fifth seed last year? I mean, no, they dropped down to the 7th seed. They dropped down to the 7th seed. But I remember it was a point in the season where they was like a top 4 seed. They was rolling. They was looking good. We was like this European connection, and they ain't talking about the Golden Triangle. But we was talking about how good they looked. And we thought after the way they exit the playoffs last year, we was like, this team will be back. People telling me Luka Doncic top 5 player overall, should be one of the favorites for the MVP. If I had to start a team, I would do it with Luka, you know. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with a lot of those opinions or thoughts. But last night showed me why Dallas is going to be a middling team until something happens. They have some talent, but they don't have enough cohesive or consistent talent. What do I mean? Let's talk about that number 2. We ain't going to bash on Luka, even though he should have played a little better, but I'm going to scratch Luka to the side. Let's talk about his running mate, the unicorn. Now I see why they call him the unicorn. I also see why little girls like unicorns when they grow up, because they're cute, they're cuddly, they're soft, they're friendly, and they're unique. And Porzingis is all that. He's all that. It looks like he used more time on his hair than his jump shot. And he looks about as soft as a unicorn. Matter of fact, he reminds me of some UGG boots I bought for my wife recently because they're comfortable. He's comfortable. He's fluffy. Listen, I should start calling him the Casper mattress man, since he want to be so comfortable. Like, this is ridiculous, man. He is softer than baby poop out there. Softer than baby poop. Yeah, that's right. Young frail to the frail. And then when he do play, I'm looking at Luka Doncic last night, looking at him like, bro, you gonna help 11? That's what I get. I get 11 points out of you. You're supposed to be my running mate. We supposed to be doing this European. We represent for the Europeans out here, and this is 11. And I heard all this hype about you in New York. All this, oh man, 7-footer. Oh, this guy can knock it down. Knock what down? Himself? His kneecaps? Like what are we doing out here? Porzingis? What are we doing? Unicorn? What are we doing? All right, My Little Pony? Because that's what I'm seeing out there. That's exactly what I'm seeing out there. This dude needs to get his game together. He needs to bring it and help his running mate, Luka Doncic, because that ain't it. And I got it. Maybe I'm being unfair because this other dude's not playing well, but those other dudes don't get hyped like Porzingis do. Tim Hardaway Jr., no one hypes him up. Brunson, nobody hypes him up. Like, these other guys, nobody hyped them up. That's why they're not going to get the blame like Porzingis. Porzingis was supposed to be the next thing smoking out the European hype train. And instead, he got Luka out here. This looks like the same mess we seen in the playoffs. Luka by himself. And then everybody want to say, hey, if Porzingis didn't get hurt, they would have beat the Clippers. When the hell do he not get hurt? Like, that's a fair question. When do he don't get hurt? My boy's starting to look like Nurkic from the Blazers here. When the hell do he not get hurt, right? Like, so the unicorn he need to change his nickname to something else a little harder. That's first of all. Because if you want to be fluffy like some pancakes from IHOP, then you go do your business. But we need you to get a little harder. We need you to get a little tougher because you out here real soft and flimsy, all right? We don't need the dollar store. We need the Galleria. We don't want the cheap stuff. We want the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So with that ain't it. And I think Dallas, I'm not even going to get on defensively because they ain't played defense in years. So it is what it is. But in order for Dallas to make any real noise in the Western Conference, either Porzingis is going to have to wake up or they're going to have to trade him away. I'm sorry. I know they just got him. I got it. But I'm not putting this on the coach that Porzingis is not showing up. I don't think that's his fault. I mean, because you see Luka out there trying to play. So with that said, to answer both questions, I was very impressed with Utah. I was impressed with Utah. I left that game last night thinking Utah is for real this year. And I'm not impressed with Porzingis. That's not it. That's not it. So if you want to be the unicorn, go somewhere else, shoot some commercials. I don't know, some of them medicine commercials or some. I don't know, but we look here, Fluffy McFluff Porzingis. We're not feeling that. We're not feeling that. No.
I think Utah. I have to say I was of the opinion that you remember when the Rudy Gobert was touching microphones and all that stuff, and then he tested positive, and Donovan Mitchell tested positive, and there was some big issues inside of that locker room. And I think some people, I was of the opinion that I didn't know if that those bridges could be repaired. I think they've been repaired though. I don't think you can come out and be on this type of hot streak and not have, like as you say, those differences put aside, and maybe some amends have been made. So good for those guys, first and foremost, for being professionals, coming together, putting those things aside, and coming out and doing what they need to do, which is, play some good basketball. And that's still an up and coming duo out there, especially Donovan Mitchell as he continues to, grow and perhaps approach superstardom. I don't think he's there yet. I still look at him as a star. I think he's an all-star, star caliber player. But the pieces around him, you remember when Bogdanovich, it was announced that he wouldn't play in the bubble. I thought that was pretty much it for him. And they did, get out to that big 3-1 series lead against Denver before they ultimately couldn't get it done. But now that he's back, you remember the early seasons of the Utah Jazz under Quinn Snyder, they struggled to score. Now we know they could defend, and they still do defend at a pretty high level, but now things have changed. That team has grown, and now they can, it's the 3-point delight show out there. I mean, it's not much difference than, what we talked about, in the first segment. You got New Orleans out there raining threes. Utah hit 20 of them last night, led by Bogdanovich. Conley is a sharpshooter as well. Joe Ingles can do it for you. And that the trade of Jordan Clarkson is one of the best moves like we've seen recently. The energy and the go ahead.
I just want to inject something right quick. And that's a fair point. I would say the only difference is between Utah and New Orleans is I bet you won't make a bet with me that Utah can do this again, because they're a team that seem to be able to do this again.
Yeah, and that by the way, that's only the Bledsoe and Ball point. Those just those two. But yes, Utah can do this. They have the track record. We've seen this, some consistency for some of these guys. I mean, Mike Conley, he's got a track record, a mile long. We know what he can do. And that's proof. I think we were questioning, is Mike Conley, is he really going to do it for you? And he's fit in quite well. He's efficient. He's a professional. He can do things for you. And yet the fact that Donovan Mitchell, didn't play in this game, and you still get the Mavericks still get the big smackdown. That's pretty eye-opening. So I think in the big picture, and you recall, I said this a little bit ago, last year it was the Lakers and Clippers, top two teams. I still think they're my two teams that I would look at for the Western Conference Finals. And last season you had, probably about maybe 3, maybe 4 teams that are like, in the middle, in the mix for that third best. Utah, Denver, Houston. This year I think it's clear cut. I think Utah is clearly the third best team, and right now they're the biggest threat to the teams out in Los Angeles. But I do wonder, teams get hot, on big hot streaks every now and again. 11-game win streak, it looks all good right now, but I think they're gonna come back to earth at some point, and that's probably a little bit more what they'll actually look like. But they're scary good right now, and Bogdanovich, what the scoring punch that he provides is a big plus. If they had Bogdanovich last year, I don't know how you build a 3-1 lead and then blow it, because he's the real deal. And but then the Mavericks, I don't think there's any point in me, talking about Porzingis all that much, especially to the degree that you did. I don't think I can go any harder on him. I will say, I mean, there's bottom line, you know, we know what Luka's going to do. And yeah, I don't, you know, you look at Luka last night, and that wasn't his best game, but still, you know, he comes out, gives you 25, 6, and 7. You know, I mean, Porzingis 11 and 9, or 4 for 14, 1 for 5 from 3. I mean, it just hasn't been a good start. We know he got a late start due to injuries. You know, his first game was about 2.5 weeks ago. So, you know, is there something that here's him still trying to round into shape and game form? And I guess so. But the Mavericks, when you look at them, we thought last season the Mavericks were a little bit ahead of the pace. I don't think last year we saw them as a playoff team. They beat expectations, and now it's like, okay, well, you were a year early. So now we expect a little bit more from them this year. Well, they're taking a step back right now. And we know after Luka and Porzingis, there's a big talent deficit. They don't have, you know, a lot. They don't have guys underneath those two guys that are going to, you know, step in and just fill that number 2 void. It has to be Porzingis. And if this is the degree that he's going to play at, then they have no shot, and they'll struggle. And they could miss the playoffs. So he has to be better. He has to impact the game more. You look at last night, it's 1 point to, you know, just score 11 points. But, I mean, no assists, no blocks, just no impact on the other side on the defensive end either. And, you know, he's at 7'3" with his skills, the ball handling, the outside shooting. And we know defensively, you know, when you're 7'3", you can impact shots at the rim. So he's just got to have a bigger impact. I know I get the sense that Luka Doncic the frustration is mounting because I think it's only natural. I mean, he just led this team they gave the Clippers, who we thought, you know, wouldn't be impacted at all by the Mavericks, and he made them sweat a little bit, in some respects by himself. So it's all about Porzingis, but I would not only hold him responsible. I mean, it's on down the roster. I mean, what is Tim Hardaway's job? To score the ball, and you score 2 points and you take 5 shots. Where were you, Tim Hardaway? That's your job. And Tim Hardaway's there. He's that third scorer. And then Josh Richardson, I mean, 6 points. I mean, not a whole lot going on. I think a lot of Josh Richardson. I thought for Philadelphia, there were some points in Philadelphia last season where I was like, I want Josh Richardson to close games. I don't have a lot of faith in some of these other dudes. So you want to talk about Porzingis, and I'm absolutely with you. He has to be better. But look, it's just not sustainable that, like, you can expect Luka to just put everybody on his back completely to this degree. I mean, he scores 25. Jalen Brunson, who, you know, I think we both like, gives you 13, and nobody. But like, Jalen Brunson can't be your second best player. That can't work. And I would tell you, I don't think there's a player in the NBA last night that you could trade out with Luka, whether it's LeBron, whether it's Giannis, whether it's Kawhi, and could have drugged these bums to a win or to a win. I don't think you could find one. So I think I'm sympathetic right now to what Luka's going through after, you know, how great of a season they had last year. And, you know, maybe I don't necessarily like the public comments to where, you know, oh, it seems like guys don't care and all that. I prefer you keep that under wraps and address it in the locker room. But I don't know, maybe it's what some of these guys need. Because they're not playing well. They lost 4 in a row, and they're sitting down there looking at the Pelicans right next to them. So they got a long way to go as well. Rick Carlisle's got to get it turned around down there because they're better than this. They're capable of being much better than this, and we expect them to be in the playoffs. At least I do.